you both so much. And I think everyone else has consented to recording in the past, so thank you for that. And I'm going to ask if you're not talking to put yourselves on mute if you have background noise. And if you have a phone that you're on, if you're going to be moving it around, you can always stop your video because me personally, I have stomach issues and get motion sickness whenever people move their phones around. So I'd appreciate it if we turn our video off whenever we're doing that. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into introductions. And again, thank you all for being here today. And I'll go ahead and start. We'll just do our name, our pronoun, and our pronouns, and also what exposure we have to parkour and what we know about it. I mean, it might be nothing, which is completely fine. We'll learn something new today. So I'll go ahead and start. My name is Sam, she, her, hers. And I was exposed to parkour, I think it was just TV. And then I started watching, I think it's free running now. Me and Scott were talking about it before, where I followed these guys on Instagram who just run through the streets and jump from building to building. And it's just really cool. So that's my exposure to it. So from that, we'll go ahead and move on to Catherine. And it looks like you're on mute, Catherine.
I'm Catherine. I happen to be Carrie's mom, and I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and it's she, her, hers. And I don't have any exposure to acrobatics.
What about parkour?
I do juggling.
Have you ever heard of parkour, Catherine?
No.
No? Okay.
Have you ever climbed a tree?
Have you ever climbed a tree?
Oh, not for a lot of years.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming, Catherine. And we'll go ahead and move on over to Tess. I don't know if, Tess, do you have audio? We weren't hearing you earlier. Can you try talking, Tess? We can't hear you.
Hello?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Go inside. Okay.
And Tess, I think we'll go ahead and come back to you if you're, or are you ready to introduce yourself? Can you come closer to your speaker? It's hard to hear.
Okay. There?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tess. I'm she, her. What was the other thing? I'm sorry.
If you've ever heard of parkour, if you've had any exposure to it or know what it is.
No.
You don't know? Awesome. Well, we're in for an interesting treat. I was so excited the first time I learned what it was. So thank you for being here, Tess. And we'll go ahead and move it on over to Carrie and Robert to introduce themselves.
Hello. My name's Carrie, she, her, hers, and I have seen a little bit of parkour and know people who do it, but I've never seen it in person and I've never tried it, and I'm super excited to learn more.
My name is Robert, and I'm he, him, his. I've seen it in the movies, and I used to be a gymnast, so I know a little bit about it.
Oh, I didn't know you were a gymnast. Robert, you're always so full of surprises. I love it. Every time you like say like a fact about yourself, I'm like, what? Well, I'm so glad both of you are here. Thank you. And then we'll go ahead and move on over to Susanna.
Hi, good afternoon. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And no, I haven't hardcore in forever. When I was a little kid, I was a tomboy, so I used to flip and do a lot of stuff, but not anymore. I guess I get is to doing yoga, trying to bend myself.
It's very similar. I feel like maybe we'll see. Scott will decide that. Cool. And then it's she, her, hers, right, Susanna?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming, as always. And what was that? And then we also have Joseph and Randy. If you both can introduce yourselves.
My name is Joseph. My name is Randy.
And Joseph, I remember from last time for your pronouns, you said he and him, if we're not referring to you as Joseph. That's still correct, right?
Yeah, him.
He and him, great. And then is Randy with you still, or is she out of the room? Oh, she's sleeping. Oh, awesome. And then if you're not referring to Randy as Randy, you say she and her, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Have you been exposed to parkour? Or have you tried it, or do you know what it is? No? Okay, no problem. Again, we have some new people here, which is great. Thank you so much for coming, Joseph and Randy. It looks like we have Florence. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you, Florence.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Florence.
I know nothing about the exercise at all. Never heard.
Awesome, Florence. Well, you're in for a treat. It's so fun to watch. And then, Florence, for your pronouns, you use she, her, right?
And her.
Great. And then I'm trying to ask you to start your video. Are you able to do that? If not, that's fine, but I was just wondering.
Was that it?
It looks like it's black.
Okay.
Let's try it. I'm going to ask you what, let's see. Oh yeah, you still have, it looks like your video is just not working, unfortunately. Are you using your computer still?
Yes.
Okay, I think there might be a technical thing, but we're so glad you're here and you could see us, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, we're so glad you're here, Florence. Thanks for coming. And we'll go ahead and pass it on over to Scott.
Hi, folks. Refer to me he, him, his. I guess I've always been doing parkour my entire life. My parents would turn around and I would be jumping in between rocks at the national parks. Anytime I saw a boulder, I would climb it, whether or not I could get down off of it or not. It's always 10 times easier to go up something than it is to come down off of it. Just a forewarning. But I guess when I really started putting a name to the movements was when I saw Casino Royale, the James Bond movie. In that, there's a gentleman being chased by James Bond through a construction site, up cranes and everything like that. That individual's name was Sebastian Faucan. He's one of the original parkour teams. Before we started getting the name parkour, it was originally known as l'art de déplacement. It was taught by French universities, by several different practitioners, mainly the French military. David Bell's father, David Bell is one of the primary founders. So there's Sebastian Faucan and David Bell. David Bell's father was taught by the French military in Vietnam, and when they came back to France, they formed this team called the Yamakasi with about 12 different people. And 10 years after that, 10, 15 years after that was when Casino Royale was made, and that kind of catches you up with the history of it. There was now just to begin I'm going to say two different words, parkour and free running. Parkour was the original base movements, getting from point A to point B jumping downstairs, climbing, swimming miles and miles, kind of like a triathlon almost. It was being able to survive in worst case scenarios. Say a volcano goes off next door, can you get to the highest point in 20 minutes and save your life? That was the original founding of parkour. Then eventually people started doing flips and then not being as efficient, but exploring the varieties of movements, because we all have different styles of movements. It's not like gymnastics where we all have to have the same tuck and we're all based off of the same rudimentary score. Each of us learn differently, and that's what I'm going to try helping you folks with. I taught myself everything I know off of YouTube, so to even do a backflip, I had to find cheats and workarounds to be able to do that, because I didn't have foam pits, I had sand and grass. So starting with that, I'm going to teach you guys the first thing I learned, which was the parkour roll. This, out of everything, this is the one thing you're going to want to know. It will help your life in many different ways, especially with the older folks. Our wrists are really our most precious things. You break your wrist, it takes a year for you to be able to come back into it. So I'm going to take a step back. When we trip, we fall and we reach out our hands and we go out, snap wrists. So today I'm going to teach you the parkour roll. Kind of looks like this. Now let me go ahead and back up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and explain things while I'm close to the camera on the different steps. And then I'm going to come back over in the middle of the grass and show you that step by step. So when you're coming down, you want to get your front leg as low as possible. So when I first started learning it, I learned from a crouch position. You take your hands and you kind of, like you're grabbing a sword from your other side. You want to grab over here, and that brings your forearm down, and you want to follow the meat of your arm, so across your forearm, across your triceps, across your deltoids, and at this point, you have your spine to worry about and your shoulder blade. So we're going to go along our lat right here. So as you're going up, you're following this, and now you're going along right here. We're not going up onto here. This has a bunch of bones and will dig into the ground. Once you go across here, you're making a diagonal across your back, going across the meaty lat, switching where there's that bridge, the two lats meeting together right here, and then over to the gluteus maximus and across the thigh. So you're going to be making a diagonal across your body. You aren't rolling straight. Let me show you straight on. So gymnastics rolls go straight. They go right over your spine. But if you're doing that on concrete, it hurts a lot. So here's the gymnastics. Right over your spine. I grab my sword. I put my forearm down. And there's that slight difference where it's you come to this side and then you get this meat right here. So let me break that down again for you. So I touch, forearm hits, I'm going right here next. Come across. And a really way to break down where that transfer is in the middle of your back, where you go from one side to the other, is to come in this kind of a figure 8, figure 4 kind of thing, where you have one leg bent and one leg out. From this position, roll backwards. That'll get you comfortable with transitioning over the middle of your back. So if you go straight back, you'll feel your spine dig into the ground, but if you go back to your shoulder, that's also a really good way.
That's interesting, Scott. I had a question. So as far as what if people, so like if we do have an older population, what if they can't complete like the whole roll? Like if they're actually, find themselves falling slowly, how would you say they should do that?
Okay. When we trip, our torso is now in front of our feet. Our feet are back here and our torso's right here. So your best chance while you're falling is to turn and take it across there. So it's gonna be, boom.
Oh.
But that also gives risks to ribs and everything. So really, if you can get, because I'm gonna show a demonstration of a trip, and I'll show you without using your hands how you can just turn to your side and let your momentum push out. Because when you're taking a roll, most of the times when we take rolls, we're jumping off of something really high, hitting the ground, and trying to redistribute all of that downward momentum into forward momentum, and also give a lot of surface area across our body for the impact to absorb onto instead of just our feet. But let me show you that trip real quick. So you're coming in, you were to trip. You really want to roll your body and get your back, even if you can't get all the way over, you can come in. Still go sideways, still try to roll over your body and let all the muscle take all the impact.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna get everybody to ask a bit of questions. I know it's kind of hard to explain this all over internet, but
Oh, it
can't
looks
hear
like
you.
Catherine. Yeah, it looks like Catherine has a question. It looks like you're muted, Catherine.
But I unmuted me.
You are good.
Okay, where's your head? Because that's where I've always had damage, black eyes, you know, that kind of thing.
Chin to chest. I like to look under my armpit as I roll on the opposite side. So if my right arm's coming and I'm rolling over my right shoulder, to get my head out of the way of my right shoulder, I put it over here.
Okay.
Same thing if you're falling backwards too. I'll go ahead and show you guys how to back fall now. This one's a little bit more clunky. You want to, so both of your feet are here and you're falling backwards. You want to get 1 foot back, step, and take a squat, and then sit down and roll across your back. And you always, same thing, where if you're going to roll across your right shoulder, you want to put your head to the other shoulder. So falling back, take 1 step, lower, and now we don't ever put our hands behind us. I've dislocated my arm 3 times putting my hand behind me. You don't want to put it back yourself, it hurts. Wow. So you're falling, hands don't go behind you, hands stay right here in front of you. And you slap the ground. You actively want to hit the ground with your open hands, lots of surface area. As you come in and start rolling, smack, and then go to your back muscles. I'll lower this a little bit. So, back fall.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. Well, I'm also, I'm going to unmute Florence too, because I know she was muted before. Florence, did you have any questions or anything?
Yeah. What happens to your shoulder while you're falling back forward either way?
The forward one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you cut with both hands and you start pulling. What I like to do sometimes is as I'm coming into the ground, I'll collapse this arm and I'll use this meat, that meat, and I don't use the shoulder at all. I go across here over to there. So my shoulder's pulling out of the way and I'm really trying to follow the ground with all the soft parts of my body.
Okay.
forearm, tricep, shoulder pulls out of the way, and then I'll go over to there.
Okay.
Yeah, and Miss Florence, don't you have some experience with this? I know a lot of us have fallen before, but did you want to share? If not, that's fine. But I was wondering if you wanted to share your experience.
I fell, don't know how I fell, just fell and broke my right arm, upper arm, all of the shoulder bones up there. And it's still giving me trouble after a year.
Wow. So do you think any of this would have helped if you had known beforehand? I mean, it's always so fast, but just knowing maybe just changing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I fell too fast
Mm-hmm.
and did not know I was falling until I, was almost to the ground.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, falls can be really, really brutal on the body sometimes.
I don't want to give anybody a false sense of security.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at falling and rolling like this because I practice it. So if this isn't something that you were to watch and then spontaneously do in the moment as you were falling for the first time, and just remember that one Zoom meeting. I really, really it's gonna feel weird. So there's a lot of points on your body. There's this one on the back of your shoulder right here. I have really intense shoulder bones here. And there's also 2 points on the back of your hips, on your lower back. When you're rolling like this, if you go more forwards than sideways, you're gonna nick those. And there will feel like a white hot coal burning in your skin. So when you're practicing this, you're gonna be rolling and you might hit those hard spots. But when you hit those, take a few seconds, get some water, and remember that you want to go along the forearm, along the tricep, and then across this part. This top part of your shoulder should never be making contact with the ground. And if it is, your feet are going over your head and you're going along your spine. So if you feel any sharp parts on your shoulder, that means you're going over instead of across. So here's an over. And then here's a sideways. Now I'm gonna start getting into a bit more of the complicated physics, but just with the same movement.
Hey Scott, did you want to go ahead and show your video just so people know like why the rolling is so important, or would that be good? Okay.
We'll save it for the end.
Okay, sounds good. No problem.
I'm gonna be jumping off this little wall behind me and landing on the ground. Let's get into some rudimentary physics. I'm not gonna go into the equations and whatnot. If you do want to go into it, it's flux impulse, if you want to look into the mass. But when I jump off of, say that's a roof, I don't want to jump straight off that roof, land on the ground, and then try to push out into the roll. Because I've come off the roof, I've hit the ground, I've taken all that force into my legs, and now I'm trying to push myself into a roll that's gonna blow out my knees. So what we do is we're up on this high spot, and we jump out as far as we can out to here, so that when we hit the ground, the angle's a little bit more obtuse than more of a right angle, so that we can go ahead and push out and continue that forward momentum and roll out. So if you jump off the roof and just go straight down, you're gonna take all that force to your legs. But if you jump outwards, your momentum's already traveling out, so once you hit, you can just go into that roll real quick. And really what you're doing at this point is, as you hit the ground, you're trying to load through your legs as you bring your arms down so that we can get to that point we were just practicing where you go across your shoulder. And what we're doing when we go across our shoulder is taking all that force from the roof that we would have just been taking into our legs and putting it across our back, across our legs, and then standing up out of it with that momentum too. And if you do it right, you should be able to run. But let me give you some demonstrations. With a roll, if you start doing it right, you can start jumping off of things close to 28, 30 feet in the air. Human beings can fall really far. Here's a bad one real quick. So if I were load, roll, go, back. Let me get a better angle. All right. Did you guys get that, or is that out again?
That, yeah, we could see it for sure.
Yeah, you know, Scott, I would injure myself just practicing this kind of thing.
So we don't jump off of anything in your
I
case.
don't mean jumping off. I mean just rolling or falling at all. I'm 77, so.
One of the things I practice is conditioning the body at first. So we can go ahead and come to a sitting position and just kind of do that light engagement roll. And that starts building the muscles on your back. So if you do have to take that sort of impact, you know how to use your back muscles to kind of roll out of it. So that would be my best advice. Just do some small back rolls and come out of it. And you want to make sure that your back's like a C.
And of course, we always need to consult our doctors first. Always.
Alrighty, I'll go ahead and give you guys the physics of flips, because everybody loves flips. Backflips are the easiest flip, but they are also the most mentally challenging. It took me 5 years to relearn a backflip. Yeah. I also didn't have the right idea. So when I did backflips, I would always think about getting my feet over my head and to the ground. But when I try to get my feet over my head, it switches my head with my feet, as you can see. So if you're going off of something, your head's always gonna hit what you're coming off if you try to just get your feet over your head. So here's the trick that I had to use for backflips is imagine there's a bed behind you. It's a really big bed, almost as tall as your shoulders. And you're gonna jump up into the air and land in bed, in that really, really tall bed. Once you get to that spot where the bed is, you pull your knees over, and then there's the ground. That's the idea of a backflip. You wanna get into a position in the air and then get yourself out of it. Easier said than done. I'll show you. So I'm gonna jump up, get here, and then pull it in. Pull. Hey, yeah. But it really is just that easy as just trying to get yourself into bed. You've laid in bed, and now you pull your knees over.
God, it's beautiful and looks effortless, and your description is super helpful.
A trick for the side flip. Have you guys jumped in the air and clicked your heels?
Oh, yeah.
That's a side flip motion. So you always want to go up with flips. You want to go up into the air, rotate, and then come out of it. So when I do my backflip, my set was my arms. So I put up, and then I brought my knees to my chest, and I was making sure I rotated there. With the side flip, I'm going to be putting my right arm up into the air, and my body is going to be rotating around this point of my chest as I pull in. So my hips are coming up and over this spot of my chest. I put my chest into the air, pull my body around it. Now going into the heel click motion, that's how you initiate the lower half of your body to get up into the air. So that full motion, when you click your heels, that stops your rotation and keeps your feet on the ground. But if you were to pull over and pull your elbow into your hips and grab your knees, you just make a full 360. Okay. Now, I know that looks really complicated.
Yes.
It's actually a lot easier than you really give it merit to, because that roll you're doing earlier, that parkour roll, if you were to find a box or somewhere to do that on and start doing that over, that's how I taught myself the side flip. So every move kind of shakes hand with another movement, allowing you to go further into it. An example, a backflip can be turned into a palm flip. Same thing, where I was going up into the air, setting, I look where I'm at. Now that same place where I was in the air and I was laying in bed is that same place right there with your hands. You push, pull in, you rotate around. So my advice, learning off of YouTube, would be find vaults and rolls. Those are the first two steps.
Oh, Scott, can we pause for one moment? It looks like Catherine had a question, but you're on mute, Catherine. You're still on mute.
I thought. Okay.
There we go.
Is this the same kind of thing somebody does when diving off a diving board and you see people, or is that different in some kind of a way?
Exactly the same. It is all air awareness. So here's the cliff right here. Here's the water. On flat ground, I'm jumping, making sure I hit here, rotating over so I can hit that ground. When I'm going off the cliff, I'm getting my first flip here, and then when I'm falling, I'm making sure that first flip completes before I hit the second 2/3 of the fall, so I can get the other flip in, because I want the last third to be where I come out of my last flip and land in the water. So as you rotate, you want to make sure that one rotation puts you into a certain space in the air so that you can finish your other one. But yeah.
What questions does anyone else have?
I have a question.
I am just like so like excited to see this like with an explanation, a real person who I feel like I know. Like it doesn't feel like it's magic, and it's like you know, there's some kind of like special effects. It's just beautiful.
It's manipulation of just physics. Everybody does parkour already. So when everybody was saying they don't do parkour, you do. You walk upstairs. That's still parkour. If you want to start getting further into parkour, skip a step. Take 2 steps at a time. And then once that becomes really easily, you can start taking 3 steps, and then you could do 4 steps, and you could stride up them. What we call strides are when we do 1-foot jumps on really big objects. Imagine running across a parking lot and putting 1 foot on each parking space line. That would be considered a stride. And that's also a really good way to practice the big jumps too. So when I'm jumping from somewhere, one wall to another wall, I'm not jumping from here to here. I'm jumping from here about 2 feet in the air off of where I jumped, and then I fall the rest of the way. It's ballistics. You're not jumping the whole distance. You're jumping halfway, a little bit up, and then falling. Because if you were to just jump straight from one thing to another, your feet slip out every single time. So you want to have a little bit of an arc to come down and land on. People make things really difficult, but I can jump 14, 16 feet in between 2 walls, but I'm not really jumping 14, 16 feet. I'm only jumping 8 feet, 2 feet up, and then falling the rest of the way.
Wow.
Aw.
I think we have one more question.
Hey,
And this is
so-
my fiance too, everyone.
Hi, too. Great to see you.
Hey,
So I got a question. How do you complete your rotations? My problem is with most things, my air awareness isn't that great. So I can't, I get stuck upside down a lot.
Okay. Back tuck?
Like snowboarding front flip is what I'm trying to learn. So
Oh, snowboarding. Okay. Are you doing a chest dive?
what?
what?
Are you rotating from your chest or are you rotating from your hips?
I think from hips.
Okay. You want, with front flips, you want to imagine your heels pulling over you. So when you go for your flip, that's only half of it. You want to imagine bringing your feet around and pushing them to the ground. So I'll give you an example real quick. Here's a front flip. I don't push my feet to the ground. So my feet and my body just kind of rotated around and then they kind of crumpled into there. Imagine when you come off of your jump, your torso is, you push. You really want to push so that your torso gets set into that area. That's your space at that point. Your G, you have a little bit of a negative G force going on and some time to be able to complete that. Once you've hit that point, you need to pull your chest down while somebody's giving you a wedgie. You want to think about pulling your butt over, and that pulling your hips over your head motion comes down into the heels and pulls you back to the ground. So here's a good one.
Okay.
Bob.
Not the best at front flips, but I usually do them off of rooftops, but yeah.
Yeah, no, your side flips are more like what I'm going for, but yeah, it makes sense to help.
Side flips are a lot easier too. So what's going to help your rotation with your side flips and your, I guess, yeah, your Superman fronts on. So are you right foot forward or left foot?
Left foot forward.
Okay. So you're coming in, you really want to have one hand up here, one hand down here so that they can switch. That's going to pull that back hip over. And then you want to think about the heels at that point, and that's where you come around. So you're coming in, one hip, pull, tuck.
Oh.
Tuck.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I can send you a bunch of tutorials too that will help. If you guys want, I can put together 5 or 10 YouTube links that you can all get sent around.
We would love that.
Scott, I have a question. When you were talking about the front flip and the action of the hips, I swim, and I know flip turns are really challenging for a lot of people, and so like I'm always trying to explain, and it sounds like a very similar motion. Do you ever train in water or teach people in water as a safe place to practice these movements?
It would be an effective place to practice some of the movements, yes. It would be hard to translate out of water.
Yeah.
It would be its own special movement in its own, I guess, like breakdancing almost, but in water. I think, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of the people who all do the choreographed dancing in water.
Oh, the Cirque du Soleil people?
Synchronized swimming.
Oh, those folks, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of now.
Hard.
Do we want to go ahead and watch that video now?
Yeah, definitely. So now we'll get a treat of seeing Scott in action. So give me 1 second.
Go ahead and just check out some of the movements, and if you guys have any questions, we'll end the class with that.
Sounds good. Let me go ahead and get started.
It all seems so perfect. It all seemed like everything's right. It all seems so perfect. It all seems so fine until it wasn't. So keep your head down, keep your hands where I can see them. Where I can see them now. This'll all be over soon. This'll all be over soon. Now I know you got this whole other side. Here, but I can't let you leave that way. But I can't let you, but I can't let you, but I can't let you leave that way. But I can't let you, but I can't let you leave. So keep your head down, keep your hands where I can see them. So keep your head down, keep your hands where I can see them now. This'll all be over soon. This'll all be over soon.
That was so cool, Scott.
I have a question. Are there competitions for people like you?
Yes, the most notable one's going to be called Red Bull Art of Motion, AOM. If you got a chance, I really recommend going onto YouTube and just look up Art of Motion, either 2018 or 2019. There are people a million times better than I am throwing double side flips and landing on a wall like this thick. There's people jumping. There's something called a trap door, which is where we jump off of a box or jump off of a rooftop and put 2 feet against the other building and then just backflip out of that. There are people doing that over drops that would kill you back to the building that they were jumping off of. And that's what I'm currently training for, but yeah.
I went ahead and put that in the chat already, so if people want to save that video and watch it later.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Tess.
How, like, you know how some people like go cliff diving? So how would you like do that? I don't know. Like,
Cliff diving.
yeah.
So we were going into this earlier, and it comes into the air awareness factor. So here's the top of your cliff. If there's a little bit of an like a jut off the side, or there are rocks down at the bottom of your cliff, you want to make sure that you get out to here so you could fall over here. Because if you just jumped here and there were rocks here, you just fall straight into those rocks. So you want to make sure you go out and then you drop. And while you're dropping, you're going to be using your hands to keep your upper torso up into the air and keep your feet really heavy. And right before you hit, you want to tighten all your muscles, crush your arms in front of your face, because that helps the water from hitting you in the nose and the face. Bam, and you want to crush your legs, because if you don't crush your legs, you could get, do you know what an enema is?
No.
It is when water is pushed into your butt, essentially. So if you land and your legs aren't crossed while you're cliff diving, you will get lake water in you.
That was a good explanation, Scott, of an enema. It's a medical thing too. Yes, yeah, I can see it happening if you don't cross your legs. I think Robert has a question now, right?
Scott, I used to teach martial arts. I used to teach falling too. I'm glad you teach it from a squatting position. I've seen people teach it here from a standing position, how to do a forward roll, and it's so dangerous. I've seen it here. I couldn't believe they were doing that. I'm glad you got weighted down, start with it, and from a very low position to the roll. That's how you do it. Because otherwise it's too dangerous.
What martial art?
I taught Hapkido for about 15 years.
Okay, I did a lot of ukemi, so you guys beat up the ukemi people.
I used to get thrown a lot by my instructor because I was really lightweight and we were the same size, so I know how to get fall. So I got thrown all over the place for a long time. So it's really fun when you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Is this good cardio?
It sounds
Does
like
your heart get going?
If you want to do cardio, the least risk management, I recommend swimming. But going out in the front yard and practicing your rolls, just even going to your back, it's all core. You will, you probably get a 6-pack in about 3 months if you practice your rolls pretty continuously. Even old folks. The 72-year-old lady, she's never broken a bone in her life, and she has a better 6-pack than I do.
Awesome. Well, I want to make sure everyone is heard from. Joseph and Randy, did you have any questions, or what did you think of all of that? Oops, sorry. And what about Have you ever done anything like this, Joseph, with dancing? Because I know you do some dancing. Is there any like break dancing that you've done that's similar?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there any moves that are similar, Joseph, that you can talk about? Not at the moment, that's fine. And Miss Florence, we haven't heard from you in a while. Is there anything that you'd like to say before the end today?
No, I don't think so.
Great. Well, we're coming at 2:56, so we have about 4 minutes left. Scott, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Yes. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one here with this dilemma. But if you know other people who are into this, I really like spreading the message. And if you guys folks could do the same, it's something called risk management. What I'm doing is not dangerous. It's no more dangerous than rolling out of bed each morning. It's because I've practiced over and over and over again. I used to do all of this for attention. I used to jump off of roofs so people could look at me and I would get that rush and that fulfillment. But I've had to take it back from there into a more of a martial arts standpoint. And I haven't been injured for the last 3 years because of it. It's not worth it to show off, ever. If you see somebody showing off, possibly try to talk them off of a ledge. People will do what they want to, but at the same time, if you can, like usually it's the younger youth that I see really, really chucking it and hurting themselves, and it's because I didn't have it until maybe about a year ago, but it's that fear of mortality. We don't have it at a certain age until you just do. And I just really want to get that across, that we consciously have to make the effort of what our body's condition isn't at that point, how much force, what the risk factors are. Say if I'm jumping in between two buildings, what's the likelihood that I might have to bounce back and accept that landing? So if I'm jumping between a 3-story building 35 feet up in the air, that would break my legs, but it wouldn't kill me. If I were going from a 6-story building to a 5-story building and I messed that jump up, that's probably me being dead. So anything you can do on the ground, you can do up in the air, but you have to train for it and really understand the risk management. So, yeah. Anyone else before we leave?
I just want to say a comment that thank you, wow, I see you and it's like something it's worth learning for you that can really practice. Maybe I can practice something, but thank you for doing that. I mean, wow. Well, I just applaud you. Thank you.
Sam had mentioned something about a time bank, and I will be putting up private parkour lessons for anybody interested.
I know. I was going to say it's amazing that Scott's going to join our time bank, and so awesome. We should all definitely really capitalize on this opportunity because that's amazing. I am so excited, and I know too. My fiance, he's off getting my dog, but he's a snowboarder, so he will definitely be asking you for some more assistance. And I think that's great that you can speak to anyone of any age. I think that's amazing, Scott. And I think it's amazing that just your energy, you're just good with anyone of any age. So,
Alrighty. Well, I have to get going up to Albuquerque right now, so I'm gonna let everybody go.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Yes, we'll see you on Tuesday. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Wow.
Well, I am just so
Wow.
happy. He's going to join our time bank, and he's part of another big organization called Project in Motion, which is I think they have the foam pits and everything where you can actually get into this. And very generous guy. So that was so cool and so inspiring. I can't believe it. Does anyone
for me, just to learn how to fall. That's all. And not backwards, because that's not usually how I'm falling. I'm falling forwards and hitting with my head, and so it's almost like a personal trainer.
Right? We all got like a free personal training session this afternoon. How great. Does anyone else have any last words before we let each other go for the weekend?
I just don't want to hurt myself because I already had an accident off the treadmill, so yeah.
Yes, you don't want to hurt yourself.
No.
Yeah, so that's what it seems like. If you work with him, like he'll walk you through it at your own pace. That's what's really cool. And he said like the risk management, so really going at our own pace.
It's just like I'm afraid of heights and stuff.
Yeah, maybe this will help conquer your fear of heights.
I know. When we get on at the state fair and stuff, when they have it, I won't go on the Ferris wheel because I just don't like to sit with people on there. There's 2 people, but I wouldn't like to sit up there because they go back and rock it. Oh my God, don't rock it. I get so scared and paranoid. I get freaked out.
And it's a little breaking up, so I'm just going to repeat what you said just in case people didn't hear that. Tess is scared of heights, and even getting on the Ferris wheel at the state fair is a little scary. I'm scared of it too. It's scary and taken back. So yeah, just knowing that trusting your body, I think, is a big thing with this. Well, thank you all for coming, and I hope you all have a great weekend and maybe get some parkour rolls in if you can. But we'll go ahead and like we always do with one word, we'll end on parkour. So go ahead and count down, and we'll go ahead and say bye for the weekend after we say parkour. So 3, 2, 1, parkour. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
You all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Florence.
Oh, Carrie, I have one question for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm still on just by magic. Yes.
I know.